Hello, I'm Scott ROCKFILE Hamilton with another podcast movie review for you of the Swedish movie DRAUG. Okay, this is a movie that takes place 1,000 years ago, give or take. It is not for everyone, but if you like movies like The Witch, you're going to dig this movie. It's a Swedish film, it is subtitled, it's available for free on Amazon Prime right now. It came up in my recommendations, these are movies we think you'd like. And I was like, you know what? This sounds weird enough that I may just actually like it. The storyline is, in the 11th century, a missionary goes missing in the forest bordering between the northern parts and the southern parts of Sweden. Among the rescue party chosen to find him is a young woman on her first real mission and a first return to where she was born. So basically, the king sends the sheriff and some men out to find where the missionary and his escort disappeared to. And that's how the movie begins. And I keep my reviews fairly spoiler-free. What's interesting about the movie is it takes place in a time where Christianity has swept the country, and there's still pockets of paganism. And they don't really like the Christians and vice versa. And some of the terminology used, this movie goes the route of being very historically accurate from what I've read. Again, I'll compare it to The Witch, although it's a much different movie and probably not up to the level of filmmaking of The Witch. But it puts you into the time period incredibly well. It's got a good soundtrack. The cinematography's good. This is a low-budget film made with digital photography, so a lot of the effects and stuff are very digital, like some of the slow-motion scenes and things like that are very digital looking. That would be the only thing that's kind of anachronistic that would kind of take you out of the moment. But other than that, it was well-directed, and they obviously spent the majority of their budget getting great actors. Yes, they're all speaking Swedish, but the dialogue is fairly simple. The subtitles move fairly quickly, and it all feels relatively real. They used a lot of natural lighting for the scenes, especially in the forest, in some of the hostels and the houses and things like that. Very natural lighting. There's some darks. It would be interesting to see this on a 4K release. It looked great on Amazon, actually. So I streamed it, and it's only 88 minutes, so it's not a big investment in time, but it does take a little bit of time to get going as they establish the characters, what they're up to, maybe some of their past. The first place they go is to a small town where they ask, have you seen these people? And it turns out they know each other, and, there's some background already given then. And as the movie progresses, you learn a little more about backgrounds and what happened before the story and things in the past that may affect what's going on now. And things do turn very dark. For a horror movie, the violence is fairly tame. There's some bloody battle scenes. There are a few kind of gross special effects things, but they're very fast, very quickly shown. This is more a movie about the ambience and the feeling of the time. And there's a kind of claustrophobic feeling to part of the movie, with good reason. It does have a foreboding feel, like you always feel like something bad is really going to happen. And again, it's a low-budget film, so they don't have the budget to do grandiose things, but it does get fairly big towards the end on what they're dealing with and what's going on and the ending of the story. It all makes sense. The ending is a little, can be open to interpretation. I enjoyed the movie. It's not one that I need to rush right out and buy. It's not one that I'm going to recommend you go watch immediately. But again, if you like things, say like The Lighthouse or The Witch, things that are more of a slow burn, more on the intellectual level, things that are more a place in time type stories, you would probably dig this movie. There is not a whole lot to find about the movie. It was released in the United States in October of 2018. It came out at a horror fest, a horror convention. And again, it's not a slasher movie. It doesn't have jump scares. It's not that kind of scary movie. It's just more of a slow burn creep fest. And like I said, above all, what separates this movie from other low-budget foreign horror movies is the acting is really, really, really good. These actors all give their all. Some of the scenes could not have been easy to film and be easy to perform, and I was fairly impressed with that. So, as a good time waster that you can watch for free on Amazon Prime, it's fine. I've watched a lot worse things, Michael Bay. Again, if you like things that are more thoughtful, more authentic, more, a little slower pace that gives you time to get into the characters and the storyline and the plot and what's going on, and you would probably enjoy this, especially if you like history, because it is done very accurately for the time. Nothing popped up from hairstyles to clothing that took me out and went, oh, this is just a movie. It looks like they somehow got a digital camera to the 11th century and followed these people through the woods. Overall, I would give it a thumbs up if you're into this kind of thing. It definitely doesn't compare to It or anything like that, but again, if you like something like The Witch or The Lighthouse, this would be your cup of tea. DRAUG. And it turns out, if you've played The Witcher or anything that has supernatural beings, this word does tend to pop up about the undead and stuff, which was an interesting thing when I looked up more about the movie. It's like, oh, yeah, I have heard the word before. It just seems to be coming up more and more these days than I'd ever heard it in the past. And yes, I grew up a Dungeons & Dragons geek, so there you go. Check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. DRAUG. It's a horror movie. It's 88 minutes, and you may dig it. Oh, it was directed by Karen Ingman and Klaus Persson. I don't know if they've gone on to do other things, but I hope so, because this shows a lot of creativity, especially given the lack of budget, and I would like to see more things from them. I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm ROCKFILE. My website is therockfile.com. Please subscribe to these podcasts. Check out the Patreon page. And I thank you oh so much for taking time out of your day to listen to this review of a weird Swedish horror movie.